I have been thinking a lot about what home looks like as I'm forced to look at that reality every single day. I packed up my entire life and moved 6 months ago. Have I documented the entire thing? Yes. Have I felt like I could watch that documentation back? No. I've seen nothing but whirlwinds of change prior to moving into this house. Not only within myself, but within my life. I've been trying to process things that I will never be able to talk about on camera, but would someday like to. It's really hard to accept that you are marinated in trauma from birth. You grow up with that trauma, and then you have to accept the version of yourself that you have become in the midst of being marinated and soaked in all of this abuse. And then you go out into the world and you have to unshed those layers and face yourself in the mirror, not just the sun, but look at yourself and say, this is who I am. And it's really hard to do that, because doing that means taking off layers and layers and layers and layers and layers and layers of things that you have been defined by for so long, things that are not you, things that have just shaped your experience, have shaped you, but they're not you. And so I've been trying to do that. I picked up everything, packed what I could in my little PT Cruiser, and moved 1,000 miles away from home. It's really hard for me to say that out loud because I'm still adjusting to this reality. Moving was a part of my entire life. It's always been a part of my life. Staying in one place has never, ever been a comfortable thing for me. Running has always been easy, between growing up and my parents getting evicted, or through divorce and marriage and relationship and custody battles, or through military upbringing, going from school to school. That is normal to me. Moving across state lines, moving across the country, living with my grandparents, constantly adjusting to change, constantly adapting to new living circumstances, and seeing all of that and then coming to a halt in this season. I really think if you're not uncomfortable in your everyday life, you're never going to grow, right? You're never going to be challenged. And so this is challenging for me. Living somewhere that's not exactly ideal, working on finances and on internal things that probably I should be seeing a therapist for in this economy, let's be real. And I've got lost along the way somewhere, thinking that healing was a part of my life purpose. I was supposed to heal and that was supposed to be my purpose, but that's not it. That's not your purpose. Your purpose isn't to heal yourself, right? But it's cool that you can do that. It's cool that you can look at yourself and say, hey, I acknowledge that there are things that need to be worked on, but that's not your identity, right? I didn't want that to become my identity, and somewhere along the way it did. And so how have I been trying to let go of that? Everything was shattered as I realized that I finally have peace and that boredom and that quietness and that being alone, when you're really alone with yourself. I was facing myself for the first time, and so every single day I would come home and I would just sleep, just scroll on my phone. I couldn't do it. I was constantly trying to escape. My room started getting messy. My kitchen started getting messy. Dishes were not getting done. All these little things externally were happening, all because I couldn't just look in the mirror and be this is your reality now. You moved, you left everything behind, and this is where you are. And the process of moving and leaving everything behind and facing this version of myself, this girl who's always been here but never really been allowed to exist through responsibility and through power dynamics and through traumas and boundaries and lack of being able to identify triggers in life, in relationships and instability. Initially, all of those things. Through that, I had to face this person, right, who was not aware. So yeah, it's been completely uncomfortable. It's kind of weird actually how you realize how minor things are, but how big they can be mentally to you when you care so much, which aren't really big now that I've overcome them. I'm a Pisces baby, so yeah, it's a bit much, but the things that have happened in the process of being such an intuitive, emotional being have been really just like accepting myself and facing like that this is what it is. Like I'm allowed to just do nothing and be okay with it, and that's really hard. It's really hard to like look in the mirror after everything and be like, to like have a sense of direction when you've never had a sense of direction. You're constantly on flight through fear. Fear like wakes you up, and when there's no fear and the monsters are gone and you don't have to check your closet every night, like what do you do, right? You start to neglect yourself because there's no fear lighting you up. And when I first moved here, there was a lot of fear. Like my PT Cruiser that I drove everything, all my belongings in, my PT Cruiser died. I was not aware, and this is really stupid, and I can't believe I'm putting this on the internet. I was not aware that surrendering your vehicle is considered a repossession. So because I didn't have parents or co-signers or anything, I got a PT Cruiser at a 23% interest rate. I don't know if you know how big of a deal that is, but that's an insane deal on a $1,500 car. There's no way in hell a vehicle should cost that much. There's no way in hell a vehicle should cost almost $27,000. That's only going to sell for $1,000, right? My fucking fault, dude. The vehicle died, and because I still hadn't paid it off yet, I mean, a 23% interest rate, let's be so for real here. I didn't know what to do. I don't have the title of the vehicle, and I didn't want to pay to fix the damage because the damage cost more than what I had left on the car, and the damage cost more than what the car was worth. So I was like, well, I don't have a title, so I'm just going to call the people and be like, hey, yeah, do you want your car back? And that's what I did. Nobody told me it was a repossession, not even the people who took the car. So I was like, yeah, you can take your car back. So they took the car back. Boom, smacked my credit. In the process of the account being closed, they also smacked my credit for those months following prior. Well, I had to wait to receive letters in the mail. In the process of moving, it took time to receive those statements. Whatever, that happened. All because I don't have parents and had no education of this. And that for a while was something I was really struggling. And so I bought a car from somebody after this car died, and this person was someone I knew personally, super close, like an interpersonal relationship that I grew up with. But I really trusted this person with everything in me and gave them every penny to my name. And the vehicle that they gave me, well, that I purchased, died the next day. On top of it dying the next day, the money that I gave them did not go towards the account of the vehicle. They couldn't even transfer the vehicle in my name because they hadn't paid the vehicle off themselves, but failed to tell me this after they used my money to buy a new car themselves. I looked on the account information and realized that there was still almost $10,000 to pay off on this car. Mind you, the money I just gave them, they didn't use towards this car. So not only did I give them that money, I had to now pay off the vehicle with the money that was supposed to go towards the vehicle. Do you know what I mean? And there were back payments on the car as well. The vehicle was in repossession on top of the fact that I now had to insure a brand new 2017 Ford Fusion. And I couldn't insure it because the vehicle wasn't in my name. So there was just like a whole thing with that. I got completely fucked. Then the vehicle died. So not only did I need to repair the vehicle for $2,300 and labor, I needed to pay $9,000 plus a back payment of repossession of $800 plus the car insurance of like $400. Do you realize like how absolutely fucked I got out of that situation on top of my PT Cruiser being failed by the system of parents and financial people and advisors and whoever the fuck? They literally pried off of my vulnerability, and so did this person as well that was really close to me. And mind you, I just moved into the middle of fucking nowhere where I don't know anyone besides this person. So they were the last person I would expect to do this to me. But really, I did it to myself. My naivety did it to myself. And then I was without a vehicle again because that vehicle died the next day. This person was in such a hurry to have me buy this car from them because they knew how bad the vehicle was and they had kids on the way. And so they did what they had to for their children, which I understand. I can see where they're coming from. Like they were thinking on their feet what they need to do. And in that process, they fucked over someone very close to them for money and for their children to have a vehicle so that they could provide for their children. I understand. I do, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt. And for a while, it really did bug me that I just moved here and placed my bets on this one person, on trusting them with my life. I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought I was going to live in my car that I just bought, and then the car died. So not only did I now have no vehicle and shitty credit, well, okay, it wasn't shitty, but It knocked my credit down 100 points, that PT Cruiser, so it did fuck me over. That's going to take time to rebuild. But then said person, after I confronted them about all this stuff, because how do you confront someone who completely lies to you, right? I confronted this person about all this stuff, and they were just like, you're shit-talking me? Like, how, like, completely knew what they did and took the entire situation, fabricated it to their narrative, and just started telling people that I was shit-talking them, that I was discrediting them. And this is what I've experienced my entire life, the same type of abuse my entire life. When the narrative becomes less about taking accountability and more about what someone thinks of you, rather than just taking accountability for what you did to the victim of the situation, which was me. I put myself in that position, but I was, and I acknowledge that now. Like, I was the victim of this person's situation. They played off of my vulnerabilities. And so they were like, you're talking shit about me. The car is in perfect condition. Nothing's wrong with it. And I'm like, then why won't it start? Why does it need a new head gasket? Why, like, what's going on? Finally standing up for myself. I felt like I was yelling back at my parents for all the years of the things that they did to me. I was like, I refuse for this to be what's happening to me. I just moved to a new place. Like, how dare someone take advantage of me? How fucking dare you know what I'm going through and then do this to me? How fucking dare you? Like, how fucking dare you? I'm actually pissed. I'm so pissed. I cannot fucking believe after all of that shit back home that I'm now experiencing this with you. It ain't even their fault. But this person is in that shit from back home and very much aware of it because, like I said, interpersonal relationship. And so it was the last thing I ever expected. The biggest form of betrayal I think I've ever experienced. And I've experienced a lot of that shit. Okay, story time for another day. So then it became they couldn't believe that I would look at them this way. They couldn't believe that I would think this of them. And I told them, I'm like, you need to take care of this. Like, you need to give me back my money, or you need to do something because, like, this isn't right. Like, you can't do this to me. Like, you need to take care of this. And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about. And I couldn't believe it. I could not believe I just done this to myself. Now I'm broke, in the middle of nowhere, not knowing what to do. So then what did they do? Kick me out. So now I'm homeless and I have no vehicle. Not what I saw on my life plan. Never what I saw on my calendars. Little old me, being 13 in my parents' driveway, looking at my neighbor with her red Corvette, asking her what she was doing when she was 23 years old. And that girl said she was at college. And I thought to myself, that little old me then thought, where will I be at 23? I thought about that little girl, thinking about present me. And it was not good. I had some very terrible times. Because then on top of that, this person threw my cat outside, and my cat died. My cat died as well. So now I'm homeless. I have no vehicle. And my best friend, who's been with me through all my childhood trauma, my cat, is dead. So now I have to find a way to pay for the expenses for my cat to get cremated. Or, like, I had to choose between my cat getting cremated and keeping my bed. Like, on top of me getting kicked out, I had purchased bedding through a rental company, and the rental company needed me to pay for that or to pay for my cat to get cremated, and I now had no bed and had to pay for my cat to get cremated instead because I refused for her to be buried in the backyard of these people's yards. Like, my cat was never an outdoor cat, and as far as I know, they never had issues with my cat prior, but the people that I was living with also didn't take care of their animals as well. I just quickly realized I walked into a situation where I thought was going to be different than the life I had grown up in, and it wrapped itself in a pretty package. And it's kind of like that song by Taylor Swift, like, it's time to go. Like, what's that verse? It's like, it goes, not a twin from your dreams, just through this whole time, I was completely immersed in a version of myself that was in survival mode and didn't know how to deal with everything, all griefs from all areas of life. Because prior to my cat dying, my car dying, my finances being taken advantage of, this stuff, I was living with my parents because I did not want to pursue school for a reason that I will get into in a second. But I quickly realized why I moved out at such a young age, and the thought of my parents continuously, I don't want to like go into it, but like perpetuating cycles that I had spent my whole life praying to get out of. I did not want to continue to be in. So that is why I moved 1,000 miles away from them. Prior to that, I was living in an off-campus housing house where I had planned on going to school for the following semester. I was preparing for that, but I was dating a guy who had no home, nowhere to live, and I let them live with me. I let them use my car for work. I paid for all the bills, everything, the food, the groceries, their personal things, all of it. And then on top of that was still taken advantage of while they slept with my friends. And so I lost my friend group. I lost that, and I had to now like deal with being alone and having no friends, and then move back home to my traumatic household, and then move here and deal with all this. So you can imagine, on top of one thing, on top of the other, on top of the other. And even like opening up about all of this is also a lot, because it is extremely embarrassing, and it just like almost perpetuates that cycle by giving it fire, by putting a flame and a match under that fire, you know what I mean? And so the chemistry of all of this will like literally live on in me forever. But I get this situation. Like I moved here and I was like, I want change, and that change was very, very hard to accept. What did I do after all that stuff happened with that person, that interpersonal relationship, those people? I don't talk to my family anymore, and I don't talk to that person that I had a relationship with. I don't talk to those friends, and I don't have my kitty. She is perched up there in a box. Can you see her? Up there in a box. I don't have my kitty anymore, and I'm alone. And so, what did I do? I was walking in the neighborhood of this said person's house right after they kicked me out. I did what any rational person would do. I chucked my phone so hard at the car that just died. I chucked my phone so hard at that thing, and I shattered my phone. So now I'm homeless. I have no vehicle. I have no cat. I have no phone. I'm on my own. Your girl's really raw dogging this thing in the middle of nowhere. Doesn't know anybody. I decided to go for a walk. Because it's the only thing that makes sense. I don't know where I'm going, but God gave me legs, and they're going to take me where I need to go. There's a girl gardening. I've seen her a couple times while walking through this neighborhood prior. And so I walk up to her, and I'm like, hey, do you know anyone that's renting right now? And she's like, actually, I know a friend, and this friend, and I sat down and we had a conversation, and I'm now living in their house. All this to say that most of that stuff happened about 6 months ago. So it's been 6 months time since all this stuff has happened. I think I've done a very good job at isolating, being in hermit mode, getting my shit together, working hard, and getting back on my feet. I totally went through all of these decisions and made all of them conscientiously, because I knew that no matter what happened, what you get, what you put out. Look at this knife I'm using. Like, he has this in his house. I'm just using it. What you put out, you get back, right? So I knew that no matter what I lost financially, it didn't matter, because I would always get money back. I didn't care about money. I just wanted some type of stability in my life, like some type of peace, some type of welcoming, some type of community that I'd always longed for. And I realized that I was never going to find it surrounding myself by the same people I grew up with who caused those problems, surrounding myself around the same type of friends that caused those problems. And so that's why I packed up my entire life and moved across the country. I imagine that I will never ever, after this video, be talking about any of it again, because I don't believe that they deserve that much credit over my life and where it goes. And I conscientiously post this with fear of embarrassment, because this is a season of my life that I believe deserves to be honored, a season of strength and courage that deserves the attention right? Because you can't only come on the internet and share positive stuff. Yeah, it's cringy and literally no one will see this, but for myself and my personal growth 5 years from now, I'd really like to look back at this and be like, you fucking did that shit. I really would. And to some little girl in a broken home whose daddy is in and out of prison, whose mommy doesn't pay the bills, they can barely make ends meet, who has to work under the table, for that little girl, it matters. For that little girl, I post this. I don't know. For that little me, you know, that little version of my inner child, I share this. It took me a long time. There's multiple times during these circumstances where I wanted to like just record and just share all this stuff and just talk shit. Through every single one of these circumstances, I wanted to talk shit so bad. It took everything in me to not do that. I self-sabotaged before I chose external violence because I would never want anyone to experience what I had experienced. And I fully acknowledge that I put myself in these positions, but fuck those people. Fuck those people. And that means family too. And that's a pill that's really hard to swallow. Like, imagine meeting the love of your life and them having the family, and you'll never have that. Or you meet friends and like, they don't know the version of you before. They don't know who you are and what you've been through, right? And you'll never have that. And the friends that I do love so much earnestly are scattered across the country or across the world, giving me advice on the internet. You know, I'm really proud of myself. It took me 6 months to sit there and say that. But I don't believe that God puts us in broken homes to continue to be the people in those cycles, right? We're placed there to learn the lessons, to honor the change. I don't know, for most of my life I kind of thought that I was just supposed to be the glue and just be the band-aid, and this is me hanging up my towel and giving that little girl a pat on the back, because life is not supposed to look like Shameless, and just because you wear it well with a pretty face and photo editing apps and you travel does not mean that life is perfect. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'd be lying if I just decided to start vlogging in this new place with these new things and this new car outside and living in a house that's not mine with strangers who have taken me in like angels. I'd be lying to you and to myself if I just went on the internet and was not honest and lacked integrity. I think for my own personal peace of mind, I want to share what I've been through, and this is just a highlight reel of it, really. It is not, it's just scratching the surface. It's so much deeper, and I will never be able to share it because of the people involved. They would literally sue me. I refuse to ever do that or give them that much credit or power. So, with this being said, I'm gonna make myself some lo mein, and I will be back uploading because I like to do it. And I have felt unworthy and undeserving because of how my life has looked. And I felt unworthy and undeserving because I always thought that if you didn't have it made, you couldn't do what you really like to do. You were not deserving to create a life that is vlogging and creating because it doesn't look pretty. But you know what? Life doesn't fucking look pretty. Real people's lives and real life does not look pretty. It doesn't. We're human. I also got glasses. That's completely irrelevant. Subject changed. I just got glasses, healthcare, like... Alright, probably will upload more stuff non-trauma related. Toodles.